Ever wondered how a small island nation became a global superpower that shaped the modern world? Get ready, because we're about to embark on a whirlwind tour through the epic history of the United Kingdom. It's a story, grab a cuppa, and let's dive in. Our story begins long before the UK was even a concept. Thousands of years ago, Britain was a land of mysterious stone circles like Stonehenge, built by Neolithic peoples. Then came the Suits, tribes with a vibrant culture and their own languages, which still survive today in places like Wales and Scotland. Life was about to get a major shake-up though. In 43 AD, the Romans arrived, bringing with them roads, towns, and Latin. They built Hadrian's Wall to keep the northern tribes at bay and established cities we still know today, like Landinium or Landian. But even the mighty Roman Empire couldn't last forever. By the early 5th century, they packed up and left, leaving Britain vulnerable to new waves of invaders. Enter the Anglo-Saxons. These Germanic tribes sailed across the North Sea and established several kingdoms, like Wessex and Mercia. This is the era of Old English, the language of epic poems like Beowulf. But peace was rare. From the 8th century onwards, Viking longships appeared on the horizon, raiding monasteries and terrorizing the coast. These Vikings, or Norsemen, eventually settled, particularly in the north and east of England, an area that became known as the Den. It was a time of conflict, but also of cultural fusion. Alfred the Great, the King of Wessex, famously fought back against the Vikings and is often considered one of the first kings of the English. He laid the groundwork for a unified England. Then came 1066, a date every British school kid knows. The English king died without a clear heir, leading to a major succession crisis. In the end, it was William, Duke of Normandy, who crossed the English Channel and won the Battle of Hastings. This Norman conquest was a total game changer. The Old English aristocracy was replaced by French-speaking Normans, and this had a massive impact on the English language, culture, and social structure. They built incredible castles, like the Tower of London, and established the feudal system. The medieval period was a dramatic mix of royal power struggles, crusades, and plagues. In 1215, a group of feudal barons forced King John to sign the Magna Carta. This document was a huge deal, establishing the principle that everyone, Eben to Keen, was subject to the law. It's a cornerstone of modern democracy and liberty. Meanwhile, the relationship between England and its neighbors was often tense. Centuries of conflict with Scotland and Wales eventually led to their gradual incorporation into a larger British state. The 16th century brings us to one of history's most famous dynasties, the Tudors. Henry VIII is probably the most notorious, known for his 6 wives and his dramatic break with the Catholic Church. Why? Because the Pope wouldn't grant him a divorce. So, Henry declared himself the head of the Church of England, a move that had profound religious and political consequences that still resonate today. His daughter, Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, ruled over a golden age of exploration and culture. It was the time of Shakespeare, Francis Drake, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada. England was starting to look outwards and flex its naval muscles on the world stage. After Elizabeth's death without an heir, the crown passed to her cousin, James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. This united the crowns of Scotland and England for the first time in 1603. But the 17th century was far from peaceful. Tensions between the king and parliament over power and religion boiled over into the English Civil War. This brutal conflict pitted neighbor against neighbor and ultimately led to the unthinkable, the execution of a king, Charles I. For a brief period, England became a republic under Oliver Cromwell. But the monarchy was eventually restored. This tumultuous period ended with the Glorious Revolution of 1688, which firmly established Parliament's power over the monarch. In 1707, a crucial step was taken. The Acts of Union were passed, formally uniting the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of Scotland to create the Kingdom of Great Britain. Ireland would be added later, in 1801, forming the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. This new, unified state was poised for greatness. The 18th and 19th centuries witnessed two massive transformations: the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the British Empire. Britain was the workshop of the world. Inventions like the steam engine, the spinning jenny, and new iron-making processes revolutionized manufacturing. People flocked from the countryside to rapidly growing cities like Manchester and Liverpool. This brought immense wealth and power, but also terrible working conditions and social inequality. At the same time, the British Empire expanded across the globe, thanks to its powerful navy and commercial ambition. At its peak, it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire, covering about a quarter of the world's land area and population. Queen Victoria reigned over this period of immense change and confidence, her name becoming synonymous with the era. But the 20th century would test the UK to its limits. The First World War was a devastating conflict that cost millions of lives and changed the social fabric of the nation forever. The economic hardship that followed, including the Great Depression, brought more challenges. Then came the Second World War, under the leadership of Winston Churchill. Britain stood defiant against Nazi Germany, enduring the Blitz and fighting in theaters of war across the globe. Victory came at a huge cost, leaving the country exhausted and heavily in debt. The post-war era was a time of profound change. The UK began to dismantle its empire, with former colonies gaining independence. At home, the government created the National Health Service, the NHS, providing free healthcare for all. A revolutionary concept. The latter half of the century saw economic ups and downs, social change, and the rise of pop culture icons like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, who conquered the world with their music. Britain joined the European Economic Community, the forerunner to the EU, in 1973, a decision that would define its politics for decades. And that brings us roughly to the present day. In recent years, the UK has navigated major events like the 2008 financial crises, the 2012 London Olympics, and of course, the 2016 referendum to leave the European Union. A process known as Brexit. This has sparked intense debate about the UK's identity and its place in the world. The Union itself continues to be a topic of discussion, with ongoing debates about Scottish independence, from ancient stones to a global, multicultural nation. The history of the United Kingdom is a complex and fascinating tapestry. It's a story of invasion and resistance, of innovation and tradition, of empire and its aftermath. It's a history that has left an undeniable mark on the entire world. What do you think is the most important moment in British history? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. See you next time.